All right, I hope everybody can see us. I hope everybody can see us. We are live for our first conversation of 2021. Please, if you are seeing this now, if you would send hearts our way and then also like and share. We're about to have a conversation about the COVID vaccine. So please take a moment, like and share if you are seeing this live video at this time. Okay. Right. Again, my name is Dawn Charleston-Green, the creator of Dawn of a New Day 365. Please go ahead and like and share this conversation. We are going to be talking about the COVID vaccine. Greetings and welcome, y'all. If you are a part of Dawn of a New Day Life blog, you know that it is a movement of women journeying through everyday life, the good, bad, the ugly, and the unexpected. And I just want to welcome you again to our conversation, our first conversation of 2021. Those of you who have joined us or watched previously recall that we've had conversations between women, both Black and white, about the state of our nation regarding the global pandemic of the coronavirus, as well as the pandemic of racism. We've talked about men's mental health and PTSD and their effects on the family. In the fall, we had a very insightful and eye-opening conversation about returning to school in a pandemic, and just we're able to just learn so much information, not just about how it was going to affect families and students, but also the effect it was having on our teachers. In October of 2020, we addressed breast cancer as well as domestic violence awareness with two brave and phenomenal women. And also in that month, we gave voice to birth and pregnancy loss, a conversation that runs silent in most women who have experienced it, as well as their families and friends. But tonight's conversation, or this evening's conversation, and again, it's our first conversation for 2021. We are discussing what is still affecting our communities, our nation, and our world, the coronavirus. According to my latest search, there have been 30 million cases of the coronavirus in the US, 543,000 deaths. Globally, there have been 124 million cases, 70.6 thousand have recovered. However, the worldwide death toll is an astronomical 2.74 million. Doctors and scientists have bravely reacted to this virus, but not only providing essential medical care to COVID patients, but also through research. And they have developed several vaccines in response to combating the effects of the virus. So this evening, I am joined by three, it was gonna be two, but now we have three medical professionals who I pray will continue to help shed light on what we should be aware of as we make our decisions as to what is best for us as individuals, our families and children, and our communities. So please welcome Doctors Bie Etinge. I'm gonna get it right. Letatia Vance Norris and Cristen Morris Crain. But before I formally introduce our special guest on this evening, let me first just ask that everyone send hearts our way again. Please go ahead and share this evening's live with someone, and please invite someone to the conversation about the COVID vaccine. Also, let's just put out some ground rules. Always remember that our conversations are intended to promote as well as provoke genuine and authentic dialogue around real issues. My hope is that I can provide a safe space to have needed conversations, as well as to hopefully provide hope and resources to those who may need it. So with that said, remember to be kind and thoughtful as we are chatting and responding. As we have our conversation today, if anyone expresses opinions different from yours, we will let them have their opinion. We will address it. We will address each other respectfully. Please, by all means, chat with us and add to the conversation. It's not just our conversation. We want you to be a part of the conversation. If you have a specific question, please type Q in the comments so that way we can find your question faster. So please just type a capital Q prior to your question, and we will do our best to try to address your questions before we end. However, If you have additional questions for our professionals that we are not able to address today or during this live, please feel free to put them in the comments or direct message me or either them for more information. So again, I thank you for joining the conversation. So now let's please welcome our special guest. First, Ms. Bie Etinge is an internal medicine physician born and raised in Augusta. She's a graduate of the University of Georgia and received a master's in public health administration. No, just public health.
Just public health.
Just public health from, not saying just as if it wasn't anything, but yes, a master's in public health from Mercer School of Medicine. Prior to attending medical school, she was actually a high school science teacher. Dr. Etinge went on to graduate from the Georgia campus of the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic. I said it right? Okay, now because I broke that down too so I can get it right. Osteopathic medicine and completed training with Morehouse School of Medicine. Dr. Bie says that she is most proud that she has been able to come home and serve in the community where she grew up. So thank you, Dr. Etinge, for agreeing to have this conversation with us tonight. Please welcome her. And then we have Dr. Letatia Vance Norris with a doctorate in health services. Am I saying that right?
Health science.
Health sciences, yes. Who is a certified physician assistant and a native of Mansfield, Louisiana. She graduated from Louisiana's State University Health Science Center, right? Is that what it is? Okay. Yes. Y'all sent me all these letters and I was like, Lord, let me research this stuff so I can say it right. But yes, the LSU Health Science Center School of Allied Health in 1996 with a BS as a physician assistant. She later returned to school and earned her post-PA master's from Drexel University. And then in 2018, her doctorate in health science from Nova Southeastern University. Dr. Letatia has served in healthcare for over 20 years and recently went into private practice in January 2019 with her clinic, Total Health Family Medicine, LLC. So thanks to you, Letatia, for agreeing to have the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Also able to join us tonight is Dr. Cristen Morris Crain. Dr. Crain is a native of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She's a wife and a mother. She has a doctorate of nursing practice and advanced practice registered nurse. She's an advanced practice registered nurse, board certified nurse practitioner. She is currently serving at Our Lady of the Lake Physician Group based out of Baton Rouge. And we may have some additional professionals I've invited if they get a chance to come along with us on tonight. And if they come on, then they'll introduce themselves. You know, with all of us being in different time zones and different schedules, sometimes it's difficult just trying to get everything perfect. But we are glad that we are able to enter this conversation tonight. So I have given our doctors, other than Cristen, because I have another question for Cristen. I have given our doctors a list of questions in advance so that they were both able to give us the most accurate information possible. However, if close to the end, there are still questions that have not been answered again, I will do my best to try to search the comments and address as many questions as we can, okay? So let's start the conversation. I'm going to actually start with Dr. Bie.
Okay.
And so just the first question or just kind of statement to you, can you describe the coronavirus to us in layman terms, like for me?
Well, the coronavirus is just the coronavirus itself is not new, but COVID-19 version of coronavirus is a new virus. Of course, that was discovered December of 2019. So it is just a virus that starts out attacking mainly the respiratory system, but it does have some things that can go on and attack the kidneys, the heart, the brain, pretty much any system in the body, which is what makes it so difficult to deal with. You know, you can have mild symptoms, but then You have people who have terrible symptoms, who have myocarditis, which is inflammation of the heart muscle, who end up with kidney disease on dialysis. And so that's pretty much what it is. It's mainly a respiratory virus, but then the side effects of it and things that can happen once you get sick can start affecting the whole body system.
Wow. So it's different from the other viruses that we've experienced in the past.
It is.
Okay.
And mainly just because we just didn't know enough about it. We kind of still don't know. We're still learning things. They're doing research on long-term effects of patients who have COVID. So I think even MCG is doing, well, Augusta University, they had so many names, but they're doing a study and enrolling people to follow them long-term, because there are people who are ending up with chronic fatigue or brain fog and having issues with memory. And COVID, we've only been dealing with COVID-19 for a year now in the States.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna go to Dr. Cristen Crain. Cristen, I want to start just kind of asking you this question, because I know that the coronavirus almost held you up from getting your credentials as a doctor. You shared that you actually contracted coronavirus at the end of 2020. Can you kind of describe that experience and what that was like for you?
It was, yes. I was tested positive for the virus in November of 2020, at the very end of my doctoral program. And I'm almost certain I got it at work, seeing patients. So while we are very careful in the healthcare setting, in the clinical setting, is there still a chance that, you can be exposed? And so, tested positive, had a little cough. I was in complete denial, like most people I feel are. No, it's just allergies, or it's just a little cold. And so it just wouldn't go away. Ended up maybe the second day, just going to get a test, just thinking, oh, let me just get tested so I can get this negative test and get back to work and see my patients. Tested positive, and almost as soon as I got that positive result, it was pretty much downhill from there. So I felt bad for several weeks, and cough, I would say during the thick of it, cough, flu-like symptoms, body aches, joint pain, difficulty breathing, and just extreme fatigue. The fatigue is we call it COVID fatigue, and I can tell you that it lingers. I still wake up some days thinking that this has to be COVID fatigue, because there's no way. This is just normal tired. And so I was out of work. Of course, I quarantined for the amount of time at that time that the CDC dictated, because it's changing constantly. And I was able to stay in my home and not spread the virus to my family, my husband or my daughter. Never tested positive, and also have negative antibodies. So I'm thankful for that. Returned to work after a couple of weeks, and at some point down the line, I realized I just didn't feel like myself. And so I, ended up seeing cardiology after the fact. I was having palpitations, heart racing, and just kind of every now and again I get symptoms. And because as Dr. Bie said, we're still learning so much about them. I don't know if it's attributed to the virus as long-term lingering effects, or, what I do know is that these are things that I did not experience prior to testing positive for the virus. So that's been my experience. And I will say that the experience is an ongoing one. Every day is, we're learning every day about it. And on my personal journey, I'm learning every day about it as well.
Okay. And then just another question to you before we kind of talk about the vaccine itself, or what vaccines are. I wanted to ask you about the fact that you were actually not eligible for the vaccine initially because you had contracted the virus.
So yes, and the virus was made available shortly after I tested positive for COVID. I think the first vaccine started going out in December. I had it in November. And at the time, with the data that was available for Pfizer, which at that time was the only vaccine that was being made available, our infectious disease specialist, with the knowledge of the studies that had been performed, advised us to wait 90 days after testing positive for the virus before taking the vaccine. And so I ended up doing that, and exactly at the 90-day mark, I did end up getting vaccinated. So at that time, and so you do, after having the virus, obviously have some antibodies from having actually had the virus. And so you had some antibodies from the virus, and then the vaccine is designed to help you build antibodies as well. So I kind of had some coverage, some protection, we think, in that 90-day, from the strain that I had in that 90-day period after testing positive.
Okay. So you kind of explain it. Either of you can kind of talk about this, like just kind of explain it to everybody. What does a vaccine, not even talking about the COVID vaccine, what does a vaccine itself do for us?
Basically, a vaccine.
You go ahead,
Letatia.
Okay, so basically, what a vaccine is supposed to do is help our body build up immunity against a virus without actually giving us the virus or having the illness. So our body can recognize it in the future. So when your body's attacked by it, your body can say, okay, I know what you are. So I know how to respond and not actually show symptoms of that particular virus.
Okay.
You know, in a quick, short answer for it.
Okay.
And I'll add to that, and I'd always tell patients with anything, flu shot, pneumonia vaccine, whatever it is, that does it mean I won't get shingles? No, it does not. It means that if you get shingles, hopefully it does not last as long, it's not as painful, but it does not mean there's no vaccine we give that's 100%. Yeah, so I do caution them of that. Doesn't mean you can't get it. It means if you do get it, it's not as bad.
Okay.
Yep. And like Letatia said, you may not even show symptoms.
Okay, but that's the misinterpretation that so many of us have. Like, if I get it, I'm not, if I get this vaccine, I'm not going to get it.
Yeah.
Okay. So then let's talk about the COVID vaccine itself. Do we look at it generally like any other vaccine that we would have seen, or is there something that's different about the COVID vaccine?
The one different thing about the COVID vaccine is the science behind it. People watch the news and they'll say it's an mRNA virus. Nobody knows what that means. All it means is that, like, the flu shot gives you inactivated flu virus. So we're giving you, like, people say, I got the flu shot and I got the flu. You didn't, because you're not getting a live virus. It's inactivated flu. And then your body recognizes it, builds up a response. People still get the flu because it's only about 65% effective. It's not that great because it's a virus and it mutates. You know how they're saying COVID, we've got a South African variant, we've got this variant. Well, the flu virus does that every season. That's why you can get a flu shot in August and December. You have the flu and you feel bad because it's already changed. So the mRNA vaccine is actually Pfizer and Moderna.
Okay.
The Johnson & Johnson is something called a vector vaccine.
Yeah.
So the science behind them is not new. This is kind of just the first time they have used those methods in developing vaccines. So when people are kind of afraid to get it because it's new, it is new because COVID-19 is new. So by default, the vaccine for it is going to be new, but the science behind it is not new. And that's what I kind of tell my patients, to kind of encourage them to get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the percentages there with the different vaccines, they have what effective percentages. Why is that? Should we be concerned about that?
I don't think I mean, because Moderna and Pfizer are about, once you get both of them, you're in the mid 90% of being covered. Johnson & Johnson is mid to high 80s. It's better than nothing. That's what I tell everyone. And it's just a difference between any other vaccine you may get. So I tell people, after getting the first Moderna or Pfizer, I think you're in the 50s of coverage. And then once you get the second one, you're in the high 90s. So it's just a different vaccine. Johnson & Johnson's data just shows that it's 80-something%. That could go up because as more people get it, and they're keeping data, and data is kept for years after they give a new vaccine or a new medication, that percentage could go up. That's just a percentage in the small study that they have done with the patients that have gotten it. But that percentage can definitely go up once millions of people get it.
Okay. So I'm gonna address this one to Letatia specifically. So and y'all kind of answered it already. So with the benefits for the vaccine are, you were talking about the antibodies, right? And so it's
Mhm.
just, so it won't necessarily be to the same effect that we would get it if we didn't have it. Is that true, Letatia?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So, once you get the vaccine, and your body build up antibodies, you won't have the main thing is not having the symptoms that's sending you to the hospital, making you severely ill and causing the high death rate. So that's what we're trying to avoid. So that's the main thing. Now, how long the antibodies are going to last, they are not sure. The research, doesn't show how long that's going to last. As it continues to go, we'll find out more information about that. So hopefully it'll be, because I don't like shots, it's a one-shot deal. But
So
we'll
speaking
see.
of that, let me just ask all of you: have all of you had the vaccine at this point? Has everybody had it?
I have.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody has.
So yes, I have. Yes.
Okay. So my husband has had his.
Okay.
And,
Dawn, have you had yours?
so he works in a hospital. So he has had his, but no, I have not. I don't like needles, and not saying that that's one of my cousins put it like this. So what do you want to do? Get a shot or die? Like, what do you want to do? And so,
That's the reality of it.
I don't know. But no, so I haven't. Now I will say the other reason, and it may kind of fall in line with some other people who may be viewing now or view later. There's a lot of mistrust in the community, just in the medical community about just the virus, the information we received about the virus, everything about the vaccine. And so I think for me, that was one reason of being hesitant. I was in the military for some years, and I always felt like a guinea pig because that's a controlled population that we can experiment with. And so I just, when I got out of the Army, I swore I wasn't gonna take nothing else. Nobody was gonna shoot me with anything else. And so that's part of my resistance personally. Of course, am I leaning more towards taking it? Of course I am. I know there are some people who think like, it's a no-brainer. But honestly, for me, as I think about it, just kind of in the layman community, it's not necessarily a no-brainer. I know, people in the medical community, these are y'all's water cooler conversations. Y'all talk about this all the time, and everything that's being said on television and different reports makes sense to you. You have a point of reference to what it's talking about. All of this is really new. This is the first time really all of us have had to have this much knowledge or just kind of receiving of medical information. And so it's just, we just want to make sure that it's, the right thing, for us. So I don't know. So I am leaning towards it, but I would be interested, even for those that are watching, let us know in the chat if you have had the vaccine, if you're planning to, what's your hesitation about it? And then maybe what's your frustration about those who, like me, who haven't had the vaccine yet? So that's just kind of where I am. I was going to ask a question. Oh, for Cristen, after getting the vaccine, and we kind of talked about it some, we're not immune from getting the virus, correct?
Correct. Yeah, there's still a chance. And so we talked about there's several different pieces to that. Even if the virus didn't mutate, there's a possibility, that I could still be exposed to the virus and have some symptoms. Because once again, it's not 100% effective. The hope is that you don't get the virus and die. You don't get the virus and, have extreme symptoms associated with it. However, there are also mutations. So they're talking about, well, this, the Johnson & Johnson may cover the South African version or may cover the Brazilian, and so the different mutations. So, and everything is so new. The studies have been rushed and the virus has been, rushed to us to get us as much protection as fast as possible. And they talk about herd immunity and things like that. All of those things factor in, I believe, and will kind of reduce the chances that, this will continue to spread. The goal is to hopefully slow the spread, but there is still some chance. There's not 100% immunity. And
did we lose Cristen? Everybody else on? We good?
Yeah, I think she.
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay. Hopefully she'll come back in. While we are getting her back in, I just was reading some things in the chat. Lucretia asked, she said, I'm allergic to sulfur. Do any of the vaccines have a sulfur base?
Not that
I'm aware of.
Okay.
Nope. That's a good question, because there are a lot of medications and stuff that have cross reactivity with sulfur allergies. So that's a good question, but not that I'm aware of with the vaccines.
Okay, Cristen, we took a few questions from the chat, but we'll come back to where you were. With Tama asked, are they considering the possibility of any long-term effects of the vaccine? So I know earlier we talked about just the long-term effects of having the virus. Have we considered the long-term effects of the vaccine?
I'm sure they are. Well, so anytime you get a vaccine and you have something, doesn't matter what it is, whether it's from the vaccine or not, there are those things are reportable to the CDC and to the company, because they keep that. But that's a lot of short-term stuff. Like, I don't know if you all heard, there was a physician down in Florida. He got the vaccine and then he developed something called ITP. It has something to do with your platelets. It's really, really bad, and he died. Do we know that that's from the vaccine? We don't know that, but because of the proximity of the time he got the vaccine and the time he developed this and passed away, they had to report it as an adverse effect. So those are all short-term things.
Okay.
Are they studying people who have gotten the vaccine and see what happens 5 years from now? Not that I'm aware of, but what we do suggest is there's a CDC website that you sign up for when you get the vaccine, and it sends you text messages or emails that's like, you are 2 days out from your vaccine. How do you feel? Okay. Do you have a fever? Good, bad, and it did that for me for like a month. It sent me those text messages. But again, a month is not a long time. So I don't know what the companies are planning to do long term, because that is a good question.
Okay. And don't they give you a card or something too? How are we tracking it, specifically? How are people able to show evidence that they have received the vaccine?
So they give you a card, and each state has an immunization tracker system. In Georgia, it's called GRITS, Georgia Registry for Immunization, something, GRITS, it stands for something, but all your immunizations are put into that system. Okay. So when you get an immunization, when you get the COVID vaccine, it's put into your state immunization system, as well as you receiving a card.
Okay.
Yep.
Now Sandra Wilson is on here, and she said that she said, no, I'm not getting it. Sandra, do you want to share why you've made the decision that you are? The other question I want to ask our professionals, how is it, or how are we looking at it affecting children? I know we are already in school, and next year we'll probably be, back up, in full effect in school. Is there one specific for children? Do children not need to get it? What's the deal with our kids?
So Moderna and Johnson & Johnson are approved for people 18 and older. Okay. Pfizer is approved for those 16 and over. So actually children less than 16 are not available to get the vaccine yet. They said that there should be data out this summer for them. But as Cristen was talking before she got cut off, she mentioned herd immunity. So the hope is that as all of us adults and their teachers and their parents and grandparents and older siblings who can get vaccinated, that there's enough immune people around them that COVID stops spreading. which is what happens with measles, mumps, and rubella. You have people who are anti-vaxxers. They talk about them all the time. But there's so many millions of people in the United States whose kids get MMR vaccines that the small percentage of people who don't benefit from the herd immunity. It's not really spread often. So that's the hope for children, because I know a lot of parents will be concerned sending their kids back and they're not able to get the vaccine.
Okay. Now, Cristen, did you have anything else that you wanted to add with that? Go ahead.
Don't remember. I'm not really sure where I got cut off, because I was still seeing you guys and I thought that you heard me. So I'm not really sure where I got cut off. I was talking about the herd immunity, and I think that I was going to, I'm not even really sure what the question was, but I did want to mention, I think at one point you were talking about how you were reluctant to get the vaccine just with not having the knowledge. And I will tell you that it's no different, because I'm a healthcare professional. I had the same sentiments initially as well. I was like, oh, I'm kind of scared of that, not really sure, don't know about the technology behind it or the science behind it. I'm just gonna wait, I'm gonna let other people go first. And then I got the virus. And I will tell you, after having experienced the virus, I was like, okay, even if I have, slight reactions to the vaccine, and I never bought into the conspiracies, but, even if it's not been, long-term tests or studies going on, that I know that taking my chances with the vaccine and taking my chances with another bout of COVID, at that point, there was no question. It became a no-brainer for me. And I will tell you that I do believe it was because I got the vaccine so early after having had COVID. I did have reactions to both the first and second dose. I felt for about 24 hours with the first one and about 36 hours with the second one, like I had COVID again. And, I after that, I was back to normal and functioning, and I have my antibodies, and I feel like I'm good to go. So would I do it again? Absolutely. So I think
but definitely having the virus that kind of pushed you like, let me get this, let me get this.
Absolutely. Once you live it, then you're like, okay, yeah, it makes no sense to suffer, and I don't have to.
And like you were saying, like it's not a cold. It's not this like having the flu. You know that you have something different.
Yeah, I did for sure. And I've seen, with patients from one end of the spectrum to the other. Some have a husband and wife can have the virus at the same time, and one can have no symptoms at all or just can't smell for a day, and the other one can end up on ICU on a ventilator. But you have really no way to determine. We don't know why some people have poor outcomes. So taking the chance is just really not worth it, in my opinion.
Okay. I'm going back to the chat real quick. So Lucretia says, everyone I know is just showing up and taking what they get. I don't like that. My controlling spirit won't let me be able to choose for myself. How does one decide what vaccine to get? That's a good question. So she's saying like just when you show up, like, because I know here for us in Columbia County, Georgia, they have the drive, and I think probably most communities are kind of having the drive through, vaccination sites or whatever. So she's saying that you get what the saying is, you get what you get and you don't pitch a fit. Whatever you drive up and they give you, that's what you get. Is there any way that a person could decide specifically which shot they want to get? Would they just have to research what shots?
Well, I know for here, they do have the drive-through, but when you look up the different locations, it do tell you what they're offering. So by locations, it'll tell you this location is giving Moderna, this one is giving Pfizer, this one may have both Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer. So if it's like a location that have both, when you get there, they will ask you which one do you prefer. Okay. So you kind of just have to, research it and look and see what's available.
Okay. Good on that. Okay, Sandra said, because she was the one who said that no, she wasn't going to get it. So she says, I just believe the body can fight it off if you eat pretty healthy and do some type of exercise. The body is designed to heal itself as long as we do our part. So that's what she believes with healthy living. Because I know, a lot of the disparages and things that they talked about, just kind of, from a cultural race, perspective of how the virus was affecting different communities, had to do with health, and pre-existing conditions. So there were some communities that were more susceptible to contracting the virus or having those detrimental effects versus others. So from a medical perspective and from what you all have, the information that you all have received, do you feel like a healthy lifestyle can contribute to someone not receiving the virus? I mean, I look at Cristen and I don't think that she is, I don't think she had any pre-existing conditions, but, what is the medical community saying just about healthy lifestyles?
People are dying, period. I mean, that's, it's not like 50% death rate, but I don't want my family and friends to be in that 500,000 people that have died. Does healthy eating and doing all that? Yeah, because it contributes to you not being obese, which is a side effect, to not have, which is a pre-existing condition, to not having diabetes, to not having high blood pressure, etc. But I will say there are healthy people with none of those pre-existing conditions who are also dying.
Okay.
So that's my little 2 cents.
Okay. Letatia, you were going to say?
Yeah. For me, like I agree with her about the healthy eating, and if you're in good health, you feel like you don't need it. But what about your being able to see your parents or be around your kids or someone that you could pass it to? What about that? So that's what I considered when I actually got the vaccine as well. I might be healthy, asymptomatic, but what if I pass it on to others? That's, you have to take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, our family is preparing for a family reunion, so to speak, in not the Morris side, Cristen. The Morris is gonna get together too, however. But yes, my dad's side of the family is planning a family reunion in September. So it was originally going to be in April, but now, because of course, we're literally exactly a year past when everything happened. So, here we are when the world shut down. Probably when I met Bia, when the world shut down. I didn't know she was my neighbor until the world shut down. But we're planning this reunion and it's been moved to September at this point, but that's, kind of one of the things that the planning committee is putting out, wanting the participants in the reunion to have the vaccine because, we have so many elders now, in the family, and just wanting to make sure that they're safe. And also just knowing that, especially with our seasoned community, that, just needing that interaction. Everybody's been affected. We talk about mental health and how mental health has been affected by the pandemic, but my heart really goes out to our elderly who are not able to have those, those interactions with the grandchildren and the children and things like that. So that's one of the things that we are trying to put into effect so that we can make sure that we can have that time with our family. So yeah, I was sharing with somebody, my son, what is it, a Gen Z? I don't know where we are at this point, but anyway, they don't care nothing about us. They just living their best life, going wherever they want to go. And I have to pray every time he leaves, Lord, please cover him because, he say he wears his mask when he go, but then you look at pictures and stuff, ain't nobody got on no mask, they not doing anything. And so, they were kind of talking about millennials and Gen Zs have been the ones that are just kind of just, floating and giving it to everybody else. So, yeah. And so even though we're all living kind of in this bubbled life right now, everybody's kind of on different playing fields when it comes to it, it seems. Have y'all seen that, like with your patients? I don't know if you all have patients who are Gen Zs and is that what it is, Gen Zs and millennials?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's their take on it? How are they just kind of like, I'm just gonna live my best life?
I think From what I have seen, and so my daughter she's 14 and she's in school. They're not virtual. She goes to school every day, and so I think both ends of the spectrum. So they're either terrified and overly cautious and don't want to leave home, or they're completely careless and just ready to get back outside, as they say, and live life and with no regard for the seriousness of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. And so is it because they're not as susceptible? Like if you're a healthy young adult, late teens, early 20s, are you just less susceptible?
So from what I've seen, and I don't see pediatric patients at all. So young adults, maybe 18 and up, and not a lot of those. Most of my patient population is older. But from what I have seen is that they don't have the poorer outcomes. I do think that they for some reason tend to do better, and that's just in my personal experience with patients that I've seen. I think they tend to do better. They don't, they get sick, they feel okay, but I don't think it's as serious for them as it is to some older patients who are having the poorer outcomes, who are on the ventilators, who are who are dying. So
yeah.
I think it's just it hasn't touched them as closely.
Okay.
Yeah, I do see a large amount of pediatric patients, and they bounce back no problem. And I was thinking about it. It was funny because I had one patient that had severe asthma. I was seeing her on the regular, and she called COVID. And honestly, since she had it, because she called it like last year in March, she hasn't had a problem with her asthma since, which is just funny. But before that,
It reversed.
it was like clockwork. It was like the reverse, honestly. So it was just amazing. But but they do fine with it, because we was really worried that she was going to go really bad because her asthma was so bad, but she had no problems with it whatsoever.
And she hasn't been having problems with it since she contracted.
And no problems with it since.
Wow.
You think that's important due to the mask?
Would you repeat that? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. You think that's important due to wearing the mask and the allergens and not being able to just the exposure and cutting down on the environmental allergens and things like that?
And you know what? That could be it, possibly. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you know what? It is so it's so funny, that particular part of it, like just smells in general. I was saying, like, I don't like wearing, just the mask all the time, but sometimes it has kept me from odors that I did not want to, to smell and things like that. Oh, but yeah, so that is a point, because when everything shut down last year, what I did notice was that, the airspace was just a lot clearer and cleaner. Nobody was driving as much. So you could definitely, even just from the standpoint of like birds and wildlife, just things we had before. I don't know if we were just too busy to see, but it seemed like they just had space to, be where they hadn't been, because we were all over the place,
I saw a patient today, and it's exactly what Cristen said about allergens and masks. So she has horrible allergies, like seasonal allergies and all this. And so part of it is dust and mold and all that. So since she works from home, she doesn't go into the office where there's carpet and all this. She still has the allergies up. Obviously the pollen is here now. She hasn't had these sinus infections because she's just not exposed to all the moisture in the office and the carpet that they halfway vacuum and, all that stuff. She doesn't have that exposure anymore. So she's concerned about, when we go back in the office, what's going to happen? All this is going to kick right back up.
Wow.
Yep.
I wonder if they'll take, just different organizations, because I think, we have realized to a certain extent that there are things that we can do from home where we didn't think of before. There are so many things we can do from home. But are there going to be, as we open up more, are there going to be those offices that are going to allow those options for their employees now, especially those who experience things like that?
Yep, I think they will because you know, for companies, most of it's about money. So they're gonna realize that their overhead is less because the lights aren't on for 10 hours a day and 40 people aren't in here flushing the toilet all the time. I mean, they're gonna think about that stuff. And some people have been more productive at home because you don't have all that social stuff and going out to eat with coworkers and I've had to tell some patients, you got to make sure that at 12 o'clock, just like if you're in the office, you can take a lunch break. You can't go without eating for 10 hours just because they're on the computer all day. Yeah. They're at home, so they're not thinking, I need a break. Yeah, I said, you're at work. You need a break. Take a break, even if it's to walk outside or do something. So I just think a lot of jobs will realize that for things like allergies, for reasons of overhead is cut down because you don't have all those people in the building.
Yeah, yeah. So we got some more questions in the chat. Tama asked, will the COVID vaccine be needed yearly like the flu vaccine? Good question.
We don't know.
I don't think we know yet. Yeah.
We don't know yet.
Okay. Lucretia, she said, I was told to take, what is that? Vitamin D daily. And if I was to get COVID, I would have lessened symptoms. Is that true?
Yeah. So
I don't
vitamin D, zinc, vitamin C, all that stuff. I mean, when COVID patients leave the hospital, they actually give them vitamin C and zinc because they are immune boosters. Everybody's seen probably the little packets of Emergency that some of them are just vitamin C, some have zinc in it, but those two help with boosting your immune system. Patients who have like bad wounds, they give them vitamin C and zinc. And I'll recommend all my patients taking multivitamin, and that has vitamin D and zinc and vitamin C in it anyway. But yes, those are things that we recommend. Some patients take elderberry even before COVID. Elderberry helps with immune system, helps with allergies and everything like that. So do I think that if you get COVID, your symptoms will be less? I don't know, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with taking vitamin D every day.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Sandra said, come on, sis. She said, at the end of the day, we have to trust God, whether you take the shot or not. She said, having the information is knowledgeable, yet we can't control it. Come on now. And obey the laws of the land and do what's best for you, you know? And so I think, you know, that's a valid point that
she's right.
Again, in March, we realized we were not in control.
Exactly.
In control.
He showed us quickly.
Come on, real quick. Come on, you ain't. What do you control? You know. So our little bubble got real tight. It's like I didn't. Like I was saying to somebody one time, I was like, "Did we really need Walmart to be open 24 hours a day? Did we need it?"
What are you getting in there at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Right. Oh, you know, it's open. I can't, let me just go to Walmart. No. But just kind of realizing what we needed and didn't need, you know, during that time or whatever. It really helped us to prioritize, if I should.
Absolutely.
So let's go back to one of our other questions. So, and we may have answered this. It was why do you think the community, regardless of deaths, are so leery about whether to receive the vaccine? And that's for anybody. Why do you feel like as a community?
I think that some of it is just the distrust that we and I know there are all kind of people on this platform, but when I say we, I'm speaking for persons of color. Have with the medical community, and I'm saying that as a physician. I don't, but I cannot ignore the things that have happened to our community. And my stepmom, she got her vaccine, but she's big on, she's like, Tuskegee experiment. And I said, yeah. And I said, but do you understand what happened? These were not excusing it. They did not give these men syphilis. These were men who had syphilis and they refused treatment. It was 1,000% wrong, but they're not injecting you with anything bad. And I said, we've come a long way. Do things still happen? Yes. And I said, but we just have to trust and believe. And like Sandra said, trust God. You know, God put us here, scientists, physicians, physician assistant, nurses, and everything to share our knowledge with you. So I do understand the distrust that is there, but at the same time, I think medically we've come a long way. But it's just, I think a lot of it is just that that underlying just distrust for medicine. Like my patients trust me, but I've had a patient say, I trust you, but you didn't make it. And you're not the one sticking it in my arm. And you're not the one sticking it in my arm. And I just said, touche. I don't know what to say to that, but yeah.
Right. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation. I had been trying to have this conversation a while back, and then some other, medical professionals weren't comfortable having the conversation for whatever reason. Yeah. But I just felt like, even though, yes, tons of information has been, brought our way and on TV, and we've seen Dr. Fauci and just, everything. But I think that because, like in the beginning, we weren't getting all the information, and then sometimes the information was a little twisted, or is this it, or is that it? But I'm hoping that now we're at a place to be able to, receive it. But again, like I was saying, I wanted to be able to have conversations with people that people knew and trusted, because I don't know Dr. Fauci, even though he seemed like a nice guy, I don't know him. So it's, you know what I'm saying? So when you can have that conversation with somebody you know and trust, or your friend know and trust, it's just a little different, it's just that's a little different. So that's one of the main reasons I wanted to be able to have this conversation. Do y'all think, and anybody in the chat can speak of this from their, from their organizations where they work and things like that, do we feel like people are going to, and I don't think you can legally, but we can't force everybody to get it, to come back, to, no,
you can't force people. And there are some hospital systems just around the country, like flu shot. They may say, we want you to get a flu shot, or you have to have a doctor's note, or if you don't get a flu shot, you got to wear a mask. But they cannot force you to get it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me see what we have left. We already kind of answered that. Why do we choose to get the vaccine? And Cristen, you kind of broke that down. Once you had it was like, okay, no brainer. This is why, and just lessening the effects that if we get it. Now, this is a question I'm going to ask. If you have gotten the virus, you can still get it, which means that you could still possibly give it to somebody else, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So people who have gotten it shouldn't just not be, at this point, just walking around maskless, Okay.
If you're around, the what did they say now? If you have been fully vaccinated, you can be around other people who have been fully vaccinated without your mask.
Okay.
That's a recommendation. And another one is, if you've been fully vaccinated and then you become exposed to somebody with COVID, now you don't have to quarantine.
Okay.
So I've been fully vaccinated. If I'm around someone who has COVID and I find out later that they have COVID, I don't have to quarantine.
Okay. Leanne, who's also part of the group, she was vaccinated, and later almost her whole family got it, and she did not, get it. She had never experienced it before, but she received the vaccine, and she had to be the caregiver for everybody, and she did not get the virus. And so she attributes that to having had the vaccine. So all right, so I don't think we have anything else. Sandra, thank you. She said great information, ladies. And she also said that there are some that will try, because I've heard of some establishments or some organizations saying you have to to do this. Now, like I said, whether that's legal or not, but there are going to be some people who are going to choose, I need to work and keep this job. So
yeah.
Yeah. So just the last thing, just kind of what final words would you like to give, just for those who may be watching now or will watch the replay?
I just think in the end, you just have to do what's best for you and your family. Of course, I'm a big proponent of getting the vaccine, but that may not always be what's best for everybody. Mm-hmm. So just like everyone said, just take your individual consideration and think about the people around you. But of course, I would suggest everyone get it. But that's all I have.
All right. Dr. Letatia?
Yeah, it's your individual choice. weigh out the pros and the cons. Don't be afraid of all the myths and well, I say we live in a society where nobody wants to be uncomfortable. So forget about the little bit of side effects that you hear about the sore arms and the fever and all that stuff. That's far less than actually getting the COVID and ending up in the hospital. So disregard all that and just go ahead and suck it up and get the vaccine and make everybody happy and be able to see your grandparents, your parents, your kids, and be here to see 2022.
All right, Dr. Cristen, what do you have?
I say, I agree. Make the decision that's best for you and your family. Do your research, weigh the pros and cons, and do what you feel is right. But look at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. People are dying, and take that into consideration. And the last thing I would like to say is, I think we should all get comfortable with the mask. I'm comfortable with mine, and it's not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. And I'm vaccinated, but I'll continue to wear my mask. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen one case of the flu this year.
That's what somebody else was telling me. So I heard that recently as well, that we haven't seen the cases of the flu. Okay. So then Lucretia says, wonderful information, ladies. Thank you all so much. And so I think that's all we have in the chat. Again, we're in different time zones, so there are going to be some people who are going to be able to watch later when they get off. I know that Cristen was in between getting off, and in Georgia we already chilling.
We're home, we had dinner, we're just
so good deal. But all right, everybody, this has been another conversation. I hope that everyone has found this dialogue to be helpful as well as therapeutic. If you joined us late, don't worry. The replay will be available both here, and I'll upload it to the YouTube channel as well, so that you can share with anybody you want to share it with. Please, share if you feel like this conversation is something that would be helpful to somebody else. Also, on Saturday, and this is for our ladies that are in Dawn of a New Day, on Saturday, March the 27th, we'll be having another conversation with Ms. Barnett discussing women's sexual health. You don't want to miss it, okay? I said we're going to preface it. Let's talk about sex, baby. Let's talk about our bodies. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be. So we're going to talk about sex. So that's going to be this Saturday,
yes.
at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. You don't want to miss the conversation. Now that conversation will not be live. You're going to have to get the link to come into the but I'll provide the link to those who do want to come on in the room, okay? But again,
okay.
Our medical professionals, thank you, Dr. Etinge, Dr. Norris, and Dr. Crain. Thank y'all so much for agreeing to be a part of the conversation and taking time out of your busy schedules, because I think Cristen is headed to a volleyball game right after this. So thank y'all.
It got canceled due to COVID.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but I appreciate you all so much. Dr. B was able to at least get home, but Dr. Norris is still in her office.
Still in the office.
Yes, so she got to get out of here. But I just want to, thank you all again for just being willing to be a part of the conversation. And thanks to everyone for watching and listening and just taking and receiving this information. So I want you all to take care.